Today we're going to be talking about the Jrod and which one is the right one for you, so stay tuned. Guys, welcome to the Mr. Bubbles channel where we dish out awesome pressure washing business advice to beginners. You guys saw there from the intro. Today we're going to be talking about the Jrod, which ones I use, which ones I recommend for you guys, and also show you guys where you can pick up the Jrod. Now, before we get into it, wanted to make this quick announcement. Remember, guys, we have until the end of the week for your Business in a Box giveaway, absolutely for free. In order for you to get your free Business in a Box, all you have to do is sign up for the membership here on YouTube. You'll see a button here below the video says join. Guys, it's $5 a month, essentially being your tuition to the Mr. Bubbles Pressure Washing Academy, this virtual trade school that we're creating for you guys. And you guys well know your Business in a Box, guys. I mean, that's full of resources for you guys to be able to, have more success in the pressure washing business. It's got things like over 300 before and after pictures that you can use on all of your social medias, like your Facebook and your websites and things of that nature. So highly recommend that. Again, we're only running that all the way to the end of the week, guys, absolutely for free. And then also all of you guys that became members last week, we already sent out the Business in a Box to 39 people, guys, from last week. So you guys should be getting that in the next couple of days. And then you guys that signed up in the last couple of days, that's going to be going out on this Friday. And then also whoever signs up this week, we're shipping them out, I think, this Friday. And then also, also next Monday. So, be on the lookout for that. This is one of those things you do not want to procrastinate on, because after this week, we're going back to, the normal thing there with the Business in a Box. And guys, it's almost a $200 value and you're only paying $5 a month for it. So highly recommend that. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the Jrod. I know a lot of you guys are brand spanking new to the industry, so you don't really understand all the lingo yet. This is what we call this piece here. Actually, when you first get it, when you order it, guys, this is what it looks like. It's just 4 holders for your different nozzles, right? For your different tips. So we're going to talk about this because when you guys order this, and by the way, your Jrod, where I order mine, it's a place called pressuretech.com. I'll put it up here for you guys. And then you just go in there and, you'll put Jrod, and then it's going to have a little drop down and it'll show you which one is for your machine. Like, is it 3 gallon a minute, 4 gallon a minute, 5 gallon a minute, 8 gallon a minute? You just pick the right Jrod for your machine, and then, you're going to get the Jrod. When it comes to you in the mail, guys, it's going to come with 4 different tips. These are just some old tips that I had from an old Jrod. And then you're just going to assemble them together here. And then in the end, when you assemble your Jrod, guys, this is what it's going to look like. Now, I'm going to explain to you what these tips actually are. Now, this right here, when you order your Jrod, you guys see that right there, this long tip. That tip is not going to come with your Jrod. You got to order this separately. It's called a shooter tip or a 2-story tip. Now, yours does come with the 2-story tip, but it's more like about this size right here where my finger is. So, you got to order that separately. I cannot remember, guys, for the life of me, how much they cost, because we literally have 30 or 40 of these Jrods here at the shop. We've been in business for a long time, so we have some that are 8, 9 years old. So what happens here is I'm going to explain this to you real easily. So you know how, like, when you get a pressure washer, you get those tips, pressure tips, and they come like a red one, a black one, a green one, a white one, etc., a yellow one. Well, so this is kind of like having 4 tips, but instead of you keeping them in your pocket, if you're constantly reaching in your pocket, tips are going to fall all over the place. Eventually, you're going to lose them. So they came up with this nifty way to have all 4 of your tips that you need right here on your Jrod. And the way this actually works, guys, is these 2 tips here that you see on my left next to the shooter tip, and then the one right next to it, that's your fan tip. So these 2 tips, again, on my left, are your soap tips. They're the only tips that actually draw chemical from your siphon tube. And these two tips here are your water or rinse tips. So, for example, this tip here is kind of like this one. This is your second story water tip, and this is your fan tip. So they're all the same, except these two are for drawing soap, and these two are for just water. So I'm going to explain this to you because we don't actually use a Jrod like this anymore, but we did for our first 5 years. So essentially, this is what it is. You guys know that whenever we change from chemical to rinse, when we're going to rinse the house, the windows and the plants and whatnot, we actually go to our truck, and you guys seen me do this on video, where I take the siphon tube out of the solution, out of the chemical, and put it into the water, and then that's how we rinse, right? Well, back in the day, guys, that's not how I did it. About into my maybe 5th, 6th years is when I changed, and I'm going to explain to you why. So I used to use a Jrod like this, okay? Just like how you see here. So I had 2 soap tips and then 2 water tips. And essentially, the way a Jrod works is the soap tips are really wide, so that's why it draws soap. And I'm going to show you something here. I got a bunch of parts here that I'm going to show you guys. So some of you guys have actually never seen the inside of a downstream injector. Of course, this is one of the really, really old ones. I told you guys in a previous videos, we use the 2.3 injector. That's what I recommend you guys use, because you can use that for 5 gallon a minute, 8 gallon a minute. And this one is for a 10 gallon a minute machine. But anyway, so this injector, you also get it at the same website, pressuretech.com. But the reason why I bring up this injector, guys, is this. So inside this little barb, inside this pin, if you undo this right here, you see that right there, guys, on video? There's a little ceramic ball, tiny little ball, and then there's also a spring, okay? Obviously, you won't be able to see that really well. There's nothing else in there. So you put the spring and then the ceramic ball. You need to make sure when you order a Jrod, you need to make sure that it has the ceramic ball, because the really, really cheap ones, they come with like a silver, the thing fell, with like a silver ball bearing, and that's going to go bad really well. So you need to make sure you order the one with the ceramic ball. Very important. Now, I wanted to show you this as well. I ordered this on Amazon. I've actually never mentioned this. So in this little bag, and I ordered a pack of 50, you have the ceramic ball, the spring, and then there's a tiny little O-ring in there. So when my Jrod does go, when my downstream injector does go bad, it's because this little spring stops working, and then the bulb doesn't move up and down. So I have a replacement for that, and that only costs a couple bucks. A downstream injector, guys, will cost you 50, 60, 70 bucks. This costs you I think I paid $2.99 or $1.99 on Amazon for this. Again, it's just a replacement parts for your injector, and then you're not spending so much money. And the way this works is real simple, guys. So what happens is when you have your soap tips, okay? So you imagine you're soaping up the house with your SH. So essentially, what happens here is that little ball that's inside that barb, there's no pressure, so the bulb, it lowers, okay? So it falls down to here, thereby creating a gap, and then that gap suctions or sucks the chemical out of the tube and into your line. That's how that works. Now, conversely, when you have pressure, like let's say you want to use your pressure, it creates so much pressure in here that it shoots that little ball, that little ceramic ball, up to that barb. Actually, let me pick this up here so I can show you. The barb here fell on the ground. If not, I have another one here. So let me show you here one of my injectors. Of course, I got I don't even know. God only knows how many old injectors I have here, probably hundreds. So essentially, guys, what happens here is when I'm using my my soft tip, right? When I'm using my rinse soap or my second story soap tip, again, you saw that little ceramic ball. The ball, there's no pressure being created because the holes here on the nozzle, they're so big, so there's no pressure. That little ceramic ball drops, and it creates like an air gap, boom, and the chemical goes in there. Conversely, when we switch to our rinse, it creates a tremendous amount of pressure. It shoots that little ball up, and it blocks that little barb, that little entryway there, and then no chemical can go through there. And that's how I used to do it. So when we switch from chemical to water, we did not. This again, guys, I'm talking about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. Okay. So the way we used to do it is in our tank, our chemical tank, I had a bulkhead that had a tube like a pipe, like not a hose, but an actual PVC pipe connected to my chemical. That was my siphon tube. Meaning my siphon tube, you couldn't move it. It was a permanent siphon tube that was inside of my chemical tank. And the way we switched to water was through our Jrod. Now, this makes a lot of sense to some of you guys because you're still doing it this way. So in the field, essentially what guys do is they'll use these two, they'll soap up the whole house, they'll lather it up real good, and then there's no more organics. And instead of walking to the truck, what they do is they just switch to their rinse tips. And again, it shoots that ball up, and then you got nothing but water coming out. Here's why we changed. So we noticed through the years that we were going through a tremendous amount of injectors, like sometimes up to 2 a month for a single rig. When you got 5, 6 rigs out in the field, that can be very costly. At one point, it was costing me like right around $300 a month, every month, that I was just buying a bunch of injectors. And so I looked into how I could fix this in a way that would be, more efficient. And then also, that would create less work out there for the guys out in the field, right? So what we did is, just like I showed you guys on several videos, we changed our system where we no longer had permanent siphon tubes. Now, the tube, you can put it in water, you can put it in a bucket, you can move the tube around. And you guys seen how I take my tube out of the chemical, I put it in the water, and that's why today, guys, we no longer use a Jrod with 4 tips. You guys have seen a bunch of my videos where you see where I only have a Jrod with 2 tips on it, right? So essentially what I'm doing here is I only have 2 tips because I no longer need those pressure tips. You guys got that? I no longer rinse that way. In order for me to rinse, I actually got to go to the truck, take the siphon tube out of the chemical, put it in the water, and then we continue to use our soap tips. And the reason for that being is because now when I'm running my soap tips, but the siphon tube is in the water instead of the chemical, I'm rinsing out my injector. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, guys, because not only am I rinsing the house properly now because there's absolutely no chemical in the line, I am also rinsing out some parts that are very important. Guys, guess what? Since I switched to this new system, we have injectors that have lasted 1.5 years. Our injectors on average last about 13 months now, over 1 year for one injector, because we're constantly rinsing that out. You got to remember, it takes about 20, 25 minutes to, fully rinse a house. Think about how many gallons of water are being pumped through here, through that little spring and everything, and rinsing off all the water. So it's a way for you to really maximize the potential of your equipment. It's super annoying, guys, when you got to be, changing out equipment all the time. Now, you guys have asked me, where have I gotten, the Jrod with the 2 tips? Well, essentially what I did, guys, because we have a bunch of these. We have 30 or 40 of these. So I put this on my vise right here behind me. You guys see a vise right there? So I put that on my vise, and then I just broke it off like that. You see that? So I just tighten it, boom, and I used a rubber hammer. Not hammer, mallet. One of those big rubber mallets. And then I just broke it off. And then we have probably 60, 70 of these. All of our guys use these now. Now, as far as the tips, like I said, it's going to be relative to the machine that you have. Another vendor that I recommend you guys besides Pressure Tech is you call Russ Johnson of Southside Equipment. He is on my list of approved vendors. I have a PDF, a 1-page PDF, guys, that has all my top, I think it might be 2 pages. I'm sorry, I think it's 2 pages. But anyway, it has all my approved vendors, like their phone numbers, their websites, their contact information. I would reach out to Russ Johnson because you just tell him what machine you have. He'll tell you the shooter tip because the shooter tips have a number, guys. From what I remember, when I had a 4 gallon a minute, I had a number 3 shooter tip. Then I changed to a 4 shooter tip for the 5 gallon a minute. And now all of our machines have the number 5 shooter tip. And as far as fan tip, we have the same Jrod setup for the 8 and the 10 gallon a minute. The tip number is 2550. So 2550 for your fan tip and the number 5 shooter tip. And again, you can get the same setup from Russ Johnson. Just tell him exactly what, the tips that you need, and he'll send this out to you. And then again, if you get a Jrod that has 4, you can get, 2 sets of these, and then you'll have 2 of them. If again, guys, you're going to have the same setup as mine, where you literally walk to the truck, and what you're doing is you're taking the chemical siphon tube out of the chemical and putting it into the water, which, by the way, is what I recommend, because again, it's going to help you, for a couple of different ways. It's going to help you. One of the things is, since you're assuring yourself 100% that you have water, it's super safer for the plants too, because guys, these parts, they fail. So, if you don't have this system, like let's say you have my old system where, you have a fixed siphon tube, man, if that part fails on you guys and you don't smell the chemical, or you don't realize it until it's too late, you could kill a bunch of plants. So that's one of the reasons why we do that, guys, in order to, limit our liabilities out in the field. Okay. So this is what you've seen me use out in the field. And this, excuse me. The other thing you've seen me use a lot on video is this guy right here. So you see this right here, right? So this is a Jrod again, 2 tips, except this big tip right here, guys, is called the Assassin's tip. Okay. Pretty much everyone that sells parts in the industry, they'll have this. Again, it's just called the Assassin's tip. And this is for my 10 gallon a minute. And then this is a great setup too, because this is your M5 twist nozzle. And then I leave this like on permanent fan tip. And I use this when I'm doing like really, really big houses, or sometimes even 1-level houses, and I just want to fan tip the whole house. I love this guy right here. Again, you guys have actually seen me on video use both of these for different house washes. And again, you get this with Russ Johnson. You just tell him what you want, and then you can go ahead and pick that up. Highly recommend. But this, guys, by the way, if you have a 4 gallon a minute machine or a 5 gallon a minute machine, this setup here is not going to work for you. This is 8 gallon a minute and up. I use this setup for our 10 gallon a minute machines, which we have 2. And then for all of our 8, we use this. And then you guys that have 4 or 5 gallon a minute machines, you can use this setup right here, but your tips would be different, right? Like you would have a number 4 tip. And then I can't remember what the number for this tip is. Actually, this right here was for our 5 gallon a minute. So the tip number is 1540. There you go, guys. So like, for example, if you had a 5 gallon a minute machine, you would have fan tip number 1540 and a number 4 shooter tip. Okay. That'll help you guys out. And again, what I recommend you guys is you get this set up right here. And one of the reasons why, guys, is, this, I prefer simplicity over complexity. Okay. Let me repeat that. Simplicity over complexity. When I do my builds, I know you guys have seen me do a truck build, a trailer build. I like things to be super cookie cutter, very simple, as little, I don't like a lot of moving parts on my rigs. Also, you guys asked a question, in one of the videos that we were answering questions about the hoses, for example. We like easy setups, guys, easy things to manage. That's going to be easier on our body also, because you get out there, you're doing 4 or 5 jobs. So that's why we go with the hose that's 1 wire, because it's less weight. And this, opposed to this, it's less weight. It's half the weight. And then also, because of the way our system is set up, we don't need these tips anymore. And again, if you guys on Amazon, you pick up your repair kit, it's called an injector repair kit. and then you can just, you have your ejectors can last you guys a long time. And then you guys might be wondering, okay, so what do you do when you do need to pressure wash something? Well, first off, guys, like we never pressure wash houses, right? But we do with driveways and things of that nature. So what we simply do is our guys will have 2 or 3 of these in their pockets while they're at work. Pretty much for all of our pressure purposes, we only use the 40-degree white tip. So when you guys see me on the field, when I'm doing decks or I'm doing driveways, when I'm doing the border around the driveways, this is what I'm using, 40-degree white tip. And you see here, look, and this was actually in my toolbox here in my truck, and I took it out to show you guys. So I have like 5 or 6 white tips. And I have a backup Jrod. Very important for you guys to use a backup Jrod in case, something happens out there in the field. One time I had one of my guys called me, and it was before we used to use ladders. This is way back in the day. He went to shoot the gun, and the Jrod was not on right, and it landed on a guy's roof. So I actually had to go out there. We used the ladder to get on the roof. So make sure, the bottom line is make sure that you're using your Jrod and that you have an extra Jrod when you're out in the field. Be prepared. And the other thing I will say about this Jrod is this. The only other tip really that draws soap is that black tip. So when you get a pressure washer, it comes with a bunch of tips. One of them is the black tip. So if you guys see that black tip also draws soap. That has actually saved me in the field, guys, because one time I had my Jrod in my pants. It was in my my washing machine. And I get out in the field. I'm like, I don't have my Jrod. And obviously, you can't wash a house without the Jrod because this is how you draw the soap. But because I had a black little nozzle, boom, put that tip in there, and that will also draw soap. And of course, now the system that we have is we make sure every truck has at least one Jrod. Miguel and Jamie's truck, for example, I was looking at it the other day. They got 4 extra Jrods in there. So again, guys, make sure that you're out there and you're prepared. And the other thing I wanted to show you this, because I talked about this the other day, I wanted to show you guys this right here, guys. I call this the fat boy. Okay, this I talked about. This is your turbo nozzle, guys. Now, this turbo nozzle here cost me $250. So if you're buying a turbo nozzle and you see that the price is $30-$40, you're probably buying the wrong thing, because your high quality turbo nozzle, guys, this thing here is heavy. And I mean, this is super duty heavy strength. And I got a video coming up where I show you guys how I use this to get rid of paint on concrete. Super easy. As a matter of fact, I did a job last year with this where a guy wanted to repaint his, what is that called? The pool deck. And it had all this old paint. Guys, this right here, it was like knife through butter, guys. Knife through butter. And there you have it, guys. I wanted to do this video for you because you guys ask me a lot when I do house washes, like, oh, what tips are you using? What Jrod? How is that set up? Where can I get it? And it's hard on camera because, the GoPro and all that. So I wanted to do this video to show you guys exactly like how the ins and outs of it is, and how, with your downstream injector, again, you guys saw the little ceramic ball in there and how it works in conjunction with your Jrod. Again, guys, remember simplicity over complexity when it comes to your systems. That's why we do it this way, because it helps us to conserve our parts. Plus, it makes the job out there easier for the guys, especially when you guys, one day, guys, you're going to get to that level where you're doing 4, 5, 6 jobs a day. And, you want to make sure you got that lightweight hose. You want to make sure that your gun attachment does not have a lot of weight on it. And you have a simple system that is not complex, because a lot of times when you have problems out there on the field, they're hard to solve, because you don't have all the tools and all the equipment out there for you to deal with that. But there you have it, guys. I really am grateful that you guys came to watch this video today. pressure washing advice video. Highly recommend you watch the next one as well. Guys, in the next video, we're going to be talking about this right here. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but we're going to be talking about this little guy right here, why it's important, but why I don't use it, and also why I don't recommend you use it either. But so stay tuned for that. That's coming out in the next couple of days. And email me. I mentioned, for example, in this video, I have a approved vendors list. That's going to help you out because it's got like my shirt guy on there. It's got like all the vendors that I've been using for years and years and years. Highly recommend that. Also, I have other resources to send you. I can email you the pricing PDF that's out, the 2025. It's a sneak peek for the pricing changes that we've made for 2025. Also, a lot of you guys are still lollygagging on your marketing. I will send you my blueprint for new guys, which will really help you out in terms of getting customers. But also, in the description of this video, guys, you're going to find my email. I'm super accessible, so make sure you reach out to me. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bubbles out.